Welcome to the 15K in 45 days workshop webinar intro. I want to know, I guess this is Andrea Goodshead. The first thing I need to know is that everybody can see my screen and hear me fine. We have a few people in evidence. Okay, we've got some hands raised. Oh, it's getting interfered with the screen recording. Oh, okay, here we go. Okay, I'm not going to be able to see the questions too easily right away. I guess what I'll do is at the end I will turn off the recording so that we can use this for promotion through the weekend and then take questions. So I'm really glad to see everybody here. I appreciate you taking the time. It's been a long time since I've done a webinar, and I think that like I said just a minute ago before I turned the recording on, I think that I just got lazy, to be honest, because webinars are such a lucrative way to go about getting, not that you can make sales on them for sure, which we're gonna approach here, but one of the things is that you can build such a strong branded to you or loyal to you audience with them that you don't need a whole lot of people, especially when you're doing top tier, to work with. And it's easy to kind of go, and it's not a bad thing necessarily, to kind of go off deep into different directions with those people, and the webinars kind of fall to the sidelines until it's time to re-up a little bit. There's probably a rhythm that I will need to find this year to reach the income goals that I want. But for now, we're going to talk about this particular webinar is to talk about, and let's just double check that everybody can hear me and see my screen, because I don't want to go through this and then just raise your hand right quick if you can. Anybody? Uh-oh, maybe you can't hear me. Okay, yes, we got a yes. Okay, super. So anyway, welcome to 15K in 45 days. It's really interesting because this is this sort of the storyline that started for me 2 years ago with Top Tier, and it's been one that I don't know if you guys, I think most everybody here is familiar with Mark Hoverson. He said something not early on that I thought was just sort of silly that he said it, but he said, you will, excuse me, you will get tired of the story, of your personal story. You will get tired of it long before the people who listen to you get tired of it. And it's been true, because for me, 15K in 45 days is an old story, but it's the story that is literally easiest for me to build a list around. It's what people want to hear. It's how people continue to this day, partly because of the marketing that's being done around that story, apart from myself. That's what people want to hear. That's what people want to hear the details of. That's what people want to, my backstory comes with it. But then that was the turning point for me in my online marketing career, or whatever you want to call it. So this is the story that I am slightly tired of telling, but I've come to an awareness that it's a story that has to be told, because it's the one that people can wrap their minds around, and it's the one that's attainable next for folks. So in this webinar, what we're going to cover, and I hope that it'll be half an hour. I've only scheduled for half an hour, and I don't know what will happen if GoToWebinar thinks that I'm supposed to be done. Does anybody know? That'll be interesting. I'll just continue on if it cuts us off for some reason, and yeah, that's what we'll do. Okay, so we're going to cover as much as we can in the short time that we have together today. At the end, you're going to be invited to engage further if you want to, and that's totally optional. 15Ks in 45 days. I'm going to tell you a quick backstory to what came before that, what Top Tier is exactly, and why it's up to scales for me completely. 6 shortcuts to getting those sales. Those are the slides that I was just saving. And then how you can work and learn and implement swiftly if you want to, which is the offer at the end. I'm also going to tell you there's a couple of unannounced bonuses that I have at the end also if you want to stick around. And then what the next steps to take, and if we have time, and if GoToWebinar doesn't cut us off, we're going to do a Q&A. So this is the backstory timeline. Now, I wrote this down, and I probably need to do like a screen capture of this and redo these slides later. But here's the backstory as fast as I can. I was a jeweler slash crafter. We also did some sandblasted glassware line at one point, and I made soap. And that was from the time that I was, I've really actually never had a job. I did work briefly, like in my late teens and early 20s. I worked at like a boutique, like a dress boutique. And then I went on to do this crafting stuff. So the crafting stuff. So I graduated from high school in 1985, and then went to college. Actually, dropped out of college after 2 years. I had a full scholarship and didn't know what to do with it. So I said, okay, I can't do this anymore because I was unhappy. So I went home, and that would have been 1989. So starting about 1990, I guess it was 89, 90, I was doing crafts and going to, it started with me going to, onto college campuses. You could call their student center, and they would let you just plop down a table and sell stuff out of on the campuses in the outside the lunchroom sometimes or wherever. And I started doing those, and then I moved on to markets and then regular craft shows, like juried craft shows. And so that was from like the early 90s into all the way into like past this 1997 mark. 1997, 96, 97 is when I actually went online. Probably a little bit before that, it was when I had, I don't even know when the internet started, quote unquote, but the bulletin boards, like you could dial into university bulletin boards and things. We had some access to that prior to this period, but it wasn't anything, consistent. So in 1997, I think it was, we got our first computer. It was a gift to us from my cousin for our wedding, which was, it must have been a little bit before that we got the computer, because I think our anniversary is in 95. Anyway, so from 1997 until 2005, which is a long stretch, it's like eight years, right? I was transitioning from the crafts into online stuff, and 2005 is a mark because that's kind of where the internet finally came into its own, as far as being able to like support sort of your Joe average marketer person or wannabe. Up until that point, there was a lot of tech heavy stuff. I also was not fully committed to online work. I was still doing these crafts. I was the second baby. Morgan was born in 2002. So somewhere in here, I was doing a lot of crafts. I was having children. I was chasing around. We moved across country from Montana to Virginia. I was doing wholesale. I was doing. We had with the sand blasted glass stuff. We had some large. We started doing like trade shows, and we had Coldwater Creek did like a $5,000 order that I've never, like, I didn't know what that even was. When I was looking at it, I was like, thought they had an extra zero on there, kind of thing. We did, there was a place called the Elk Foundation that, they just started ordering. They had like hundreds of chapters, and they would each order individually. And in the middle of that, we moved, and it got flooded. The whole thing got flooded, and it sort of like crapped out, and we had to cancel. I mean, it was just kind of a crazy time. And at the same moment, Morgan's the second baby. She was not staying put wherever it was we were working. And so I had to literally make a decision whether this stuff was more important or she was. And so obviously she was, and I went home. So right about when she was 2, 3 is when I finally quit doing shows. And in between here, there's also eBay selling. So you see, there's always been there's entrepreneurial blood in me or whatever you want to call it. But the um, the idea I think that I want to impress upon people is that you just keep trying things and seeing how they fit with your life. Not sort of like committing to one thing until it's a dead horse. You can multitask in a way and sort of let things transition one into the next and grow with them that way. Um, I encourage you to do that. And one of the things that helped me with that, so I was wholesaling, eBaying, when Morgan sort of made me have to not be quite so active, or at least, be more attentive to her in particular, because Alita is 8 years older than her, so there was a big break in there. Um, I was doing wholesale and eBay and sort of knocking myself out trying to do like basically commoditizing my jewelry in particular, because the other stuff had gotten flooded basically. The equipment had all gotten flooded. So I was working on jewelry production, and I needed the internet. It came to a head that I really just needed the internet to work, because I was really working for less and less and less, because I was selling at business to business instead of to retail, which is a better price point. Which, even that, if I ever stopped that, I wasn't going to get paid. Like, I had to work in order to continue to be paid, and that obviously is. I was learning about leverage. I was learning about all kinds of things. I mean, this is about the time when Robert Kiyosaki wrote his first books. Was in this somewhere in this period. Just all kinds of good stuff. We bought that cash flow game, so we were learning just about things that, our parents never were property owners or business owners, and so it's a lot of stuff that you don't know until you're exposed to it. Anyway, trying to get this fast, and I ain't going fast. um, so 2005 is, I don't know if that's when Blogger came into being or if it's when I discovered Blogger, but I did my very first blog, put it together myself, kind of thing. I was so proud of it. I, didn't know what I was doing, didn't know like why I was doing it, didn't like, as I was making it, sort of beginning to have a vision of how it could be used, but I was just sort of into the putting it together part. And I was encouraged to do that by my first writing mentor. His name is Richard. I can't think of his last name. Anyway, if anybody, it doesn't matter who he was, but anyway, first copywriting mentor, huge, huge influence in my life. If you can find somebody who you appreciate learning writing from, or storytelling in particular, uh, huge, huge turning point for me. He had us write our story, a my story piece, which I had never done. People tell you all the time, sit down and write your story. I had never done it, and I did it, and it was, I mean, to this day, it's pretty complete up to that point. It was really good. And then what he did is he went back through it and really culled it, and you know, I saw in action how you do copywriting, because he took my story and he just chopped it down to, incomplete sentences, and just, subtitles that made it flow nicely and everything. Anyway, so I had that experience. And then in 2009, so that's another 4 years. So we're talking a long time that this has taken to come to fruition. And I'm really excited that it doesn't have to take anybody else that long. I think that's part of what drives me, is that I know how long it's taken, and I know how long it doesn't have to take, because there's certain things that if you do them in their correct order, then it's all gravy. And actually, until Top Tier, it really wasn't a full puzzle. Like, the puzzle was still missing a piece until Top Tier came into it. So anyway, in 2009, am I just rambling on, or do you guys enjoy this story? Give me a something, a comment, or a heads up, hands up, or something, that I'm not boring you to tears. Okay, a couple people are on. Anybody else, or is everybody sort of just sleeping? I need at least half of you to raise your hands. Do you know how to raise your hands? There's a little thingy on the GoToWebinar control. Looks like somebody's having trouble with audio. If the audio is bad, we're going to have the recording. Don't worry about it. I'm sorry if you can't hear it right now, but um, so the next thing that happened, so I had first writing mentor here, first first mindset mentor came in 2009. So writing and storytelling was critical, but I wasn't encouraged by him. If I had done mindset at this point, we would be in such a different place at today. It would be such a different place. So 2009, first mindset mentor and internet marketing mentor. I don't know if you guys, everybody probably knows Jonathan Budd. He's influenced a lot of people in the time frame since he's had the seven-figure networker system. And he just, mindset is why I started the prosperity trip with mindset. Prosperity trip you guys will be exposed to later if you decide to move forward with us. But that's when I had my first mindset mentor. Then in 2010, shortly after that, my first business leadership mentor. So this is Richard Dennis. This is Jonathan Budd. And then in 2010, Jonathan and Mark combined efforts and I paid attention. And so it was Mark Hoverson. Jonathan Budd and Mark Hoverson since that time have been pretty influential in the things that I pay attention to, the just in general. I mean, just in general. And Mark, more than Jonathan, is somebody that possibly because he had 4 children, or small children at the time, and was making it happen anyway, partly because of who he is and the way he delivers his material. He just was no fluff, not too, foo-foo spiritual for me, and had these little kids and included them in his videos and just, did these sloppy webinars kind of like this one. I got to get a bamboo pen and I'll be just like Mark. And he just made it seem doable. Like I was like, oh, it's not that big a deal. I just need to do it. That's the gift that he gave me. And so this is 4 years ago that I met him by Jonathan. And then 2 years after that, so 2 years ago, we're almost caught up. 2 years ago, 2 years in that interim, there was a lot of effort around figuring out how to make sales, how to, I got to where I could sell stuff. I was doing a lot of high ticket coaching, which also had its downfall because you still have to be on other people's schedules. You're still limited. You're still trading time for money. Granted, you're making more money, but you're still basically, if you stop working, you don't get paid, kind of thing. So it turns into basically another job. So in 2012, so we're caught up now. I actually there's a high ticket that I sold in here, but there really has not to this day still been a system. I'm working on putting it into a system, but that I enjoy selling. It just the system hasn't been in place. 2012, I was approached actually to license a product, and it's turned out really well. Just this one product in the last 2 years, I've made quite a bit, and I'm going to show you somewhere in here. I have a picture of it. I think it's the next slide. So, is everybody kind of up to speed? That we're current. We're up to 2012, and we're going to talk about what happened in the last 2 years and how I did that. All right. So, what is top tier? Top tier, and this is what I did. This is the product that I sold, and this is how much that I've made in the last couple of years. I don't know if you can see that, but it was January 2012, I think, that I bought that license, and in February 2014, I've since made just a little over $100,000. February, March, April, so it's more than that now, but $100,000 versus I used to struggle to make $300 at a craft show after slaving all week and lugging the kid around on my back, hauling stuff in my car. My cars were always chosen specifically for their utility, so that I could put my racks and my tables and my chairs and my boxes and my supplies and my when I was taking Morgan and Alita to shows, I was actually hauling a small television with video cassettes and a little couch and just sort of everything that I could possibly figure out how to do to make it work. And that's at some point all of that stuff became just too much, and that's when I stopped doing that, which is good, I guess, because eventually I moved into leadership and got technically clear enough and everything else that this was the thing to move forward with, not this particular company, but the process of selling things for a high profit commission. It can be anything. It doesn't need to be this particular product, but it can be anything. So why it turned out to be a breakthrough point for me, even though I find the number crunching part dry as chalk dust, is I am not a number cruncher. And so I really needed that as a component of my my coaching offers, as a component of my just my reality check on how money works and how it can compound, and how the difference between having a $7 commission, $47 commission, or $1,000 commission. And I didn't do the math on this because I was running late. So if you needed to make, recently I asked on my Facebook wall, so it's not an official survey or anything, but the average would set me free dollar amount that folks were consistently saying they needed was around $6,000 a month. Like they could quit their job, they could do the things they wanted, they could travel, they could support their parents, they could they could feel time freedom and financial freedom by getting $6,000 a month from their internet business. And in order to get to that, you have to think, you kind of have to reverse engineer that. You have to decide, you have to see how many sales you need to make. Obviously with 7, it's going to be close to 1,000 sales. Less than that, probably 800 sales. I don't feel like pulling anybody wants to do the math, that would be great. 47, it's going to be, let's see, 50 on 100 would be, I don't know, I can't do the math. See, this is why I have that this is why the numbers have never been my attraction. Anyway, I can do the math on the last one, which is $1,000 commission. I just have to make 6 sales a month in order to make that happen. Now, luckily, with the different programs that I work with, and this is actually one of the things that I learned over the last 2 years working with that particular company that I made over $100,000 with. Having the back end be deep, so meaning the items, it's not just the front end sale that matters, it's the sequence of things that are offered to the customer after that make sense and convert easily and so forth. Convert smoothly, not necessarily easily, smoothly. It makes sense to people as they move forward to move up in the purchase march. And once I actually got my first $1,000 commission before January of 2012. But again, there wasn't a system in place. This system made all the difference. The first 45 days that I hold on one second. I gotta pause this and tell them to be quiet. Wait 1 second. Okay. So basically, what happens is that people think they're going to come in and have a whole bunch of little sales, or they're going to put their foot in the water and try it, and they'll work for 6 months and finally make a handful of sales and totally get discouraged or not make any sales at all, because they haven't wrapped the correct offers around the things they're trying to sell. People still have this impression, and this probably was true early on when the internet was, this wild, wild west. It's becoming a much more savvy marketplace at this point. And what people still seem to believe is that you can just get good at throwing traffic and not even targeted traffic, which is another completely other conversation, but throwing links out places, whether it's officially, actually advertising or even just spamming people's walls or spamming groups or, whatever it is that's being taught or people are thinking is going to be effective. What happens is that doesn't work anymore. This doesn't work. It's kind of like lottery mentality. And to a degree, you can do that once you have with paid advertising, once you have an offer that you know converts, again, it's gonna make sales going through. It's gonna get a subscriber. It's gonna make sales going on through the motions of as the customers led through the path of purchase. But what I find is that people literally think they can take links, they can just get an affiliate link and go spread it around, and it's actually going to make a life with that. And it just doesn't work that way. And so, you hate to be kind of the bearer of bad news for folks, but the other choice is to let them just flop around and suffer for years. And it's not, and sometimes you can't, a lot of times people aren't, it's kind of like a train wreck. You sort of sit there and watch it and you cannot stop it because people, um, there's a lot of people sort of have to go through the motions of figuring that part out themselves. But if we can save anybody that kind of heartache, really, or more likely, there's a whole target market of people who are already there at that heartache point. They're not ready to quit. They're warriors in terms of having an entrepreneurial heart, but they just haven't figured out how to make it. They have so many parts and they're almost put together. If they could just get those $1,000 commissions flowing, they would have all the cash flow they needed. They would have all the certainty they needed. They would have their families would turn around very rapidly. I'll tell you that for a fact. The first $1,000 commission that I got, John was like night and day. And it's just, you can work hard. Let's say you work hard for 6 months and you make a sale. Is it better if it's a $7 sale or if it's a $1,000 sale? I mean, the $7 sale is only going to be sort of reassuring to yourself somewhat because you know that it can happen, but people will laugh at you. That's what happens. People laugh. So, anyway, I get very passionate about this high ticket stuff because even though I'm not a number cruncher, I've seen the effects on our lifestyle, and it's only getting better. My vision for myself is to, once you hit a number, to multiply that by 10 is not a big leap. There's like this exponential growth. So my next goal is $1 million experience. I don't know if it's going to take me this year or part of next year or what it's going to do, but it's where I used to be like that's impossible. Once you hit a certain spot, it's really just a matter of it's not even a matter of 10 times in your efforts. It's just a matter of improving your offers and getting it in front of the right people. You get clearer and clearer about who it is that's supposed to be arriving in front of. Okay, enough about that. So, here's what I had promised: 6 shortcuts to selling high ticket ethically. And ethically comes into play because a lot of folks I have found along the way. I even do a secret beliefs workshop as well, which we'll be actually doing one shortly as soon as we get this one nailed down and started. Ethics and money are a really funny thing. And Mark Hoverson, again, is one of the people who was hugely influential in me being able to, I didn't have any like hard secret beliefs around money exactly. We have a group for that, and we have all kinds of people have like poured out their heart and soul about the different things that have blocked them up. And it's also easy to forget what has blocked you once you're sort of past it. So I had some things that were not allowing me to obviously think that I could be a millionaire, or that I could even earn $100,000 at anything, or my personal ones were more around the fear of being too successful. So it's not about, like, I know that when I put my mind to something, I have that certainty that it'll happen, but it was more about how do I manage that once it starts coming at me, kind of thing that was getting in my way. Anyway, off topic. This is what I actually promised in the webinar copy, and I want to show you what I've done here because we're going to give credit to the man whose material this is. It's Robert uh, I don't know if you say it, CLD, Robert, the guy who wrote Influence, uh, Cialdini. I can't remember how you say his last name, but anyway, what I've done here is we're doing a webinar and I'm presenting it, right? But what I'm presenting is his material. And I literally took screenshots from a video that I'm going to, I haven't put it on a page yet, but it's going to be on the page that I have down. I have a link below here for you. But basically, we're going to just quickly review the 6 shortcuts of persuasion and influence. And then I'm going to give you a link to a page that has his video, which I found on YouTube. So I'm I'm curating material and incorporating it into my purpose, which is to do this high ticket workshop with you guys, or at least the people who want to when we're done with this. And then and so I don't have to come up with it. I just have to obviously copy and paste the stuff before the webinar starts, which I didn't finish up. So we're gonna look at this one, then we're gonna quickly look at the in fact, I'm going to put the slides on the page for later. I'm just going to read you my notes on this part. That's what we're going to do. So 6 shortcuts are reciprocity, scarcity, authority, consistency, and liking and consensus. If you've done any kind of study around copywriting, this is all the sort of, these 6 points are what people put into sales letters and sales funnels that cause conversion. So it's persuasion and influence in terms of marketing and sales. Now you can use this stuff with anything. You can use reciprocity with, you know, I invite you to dinner, you feel obliged to invite me to dinner later. Or I pay for lunch, you invite you next time you feel compelled to pay for lunch. So in terms of what happens is that people are more likely to say yes to anybody that they quote unquote owe. So you don't necessarily do things with the expectation that people will, you expect that people will want to reciprocate, but you don't do it in a way that is concerned, you don't concern yourself with the outcome. You're just looking for people who want that and then feel that, naturally feel that reciprocity come on. You don't want to manufacture it in a way that feels manipulative to people. So it's really just about becoming someone people want to give back to, I guess, is really the best way to put it. And again, this video, that it's an 11-minute video that I'm going to link to for you guys, is it's really good, and it just kind of makes it all clear. And if you put it in perspective with your marketing, with your own marketing, and how you can become, how you can incorporate these things into your business and into your marketing and into your interactions, it'll have a huge impact on your results. So then scarcity, we see this all the time. You know, people say, you know, only 250 copies left or whatever, and they, in the sort of the ClickBank arena, for instance, they really have abused that. So people are accustomed to, maybe you haven't been jaded in this way, and if you haven't, then you're in luck, because it's kind of just stinks to sort of see this side of internet marketing. But what happens is they do this fake scarcity thing. So it's not, they say only 250 left. Well, they can sell 250,000 and it can still say 250 left, and they're not going to stop selling it at 250. But you can put real scarcity into things. And there's the reason why you do that is to cause people to make the decision to buy now instead of later, to participate, you know, when you're ready. And really, I mean, the bottom line is to get the sales that you want when you want them. There's no other way to say it. But what you do with the other 5 things that make scarcity okay, and the way that you do scarcity can be real if you do things in a way that, well, I'll give you an example. Actually, I'm going to show you at the end, because I have some scarcity built into this offer. But it's real scarcity. It's not manufactured, and that's the difference. People, you know, scarcity is sort of an ugly word, I guess. I don't know why I'm dancing around this so much. but the gist is that scarcity is basically people want and feel the urgency to do, to be influenced, to be persuaded in your direction, the direction that you're walking people towards when scarcity is present. That's sort of, let's leave it at that because I'll show you at the end how it works in a way that's not, it's urgent, but it's not manipulative. Yeah. Okay, on to authority. So it's important to signal to others that you're a credible, knowledgeable authority figure before you make your influence attempt. So if you want to take this as an example, this webinar or any webinar that you do, or any YouTube tutorial type, how-to video, you show people basically. I think it's Frank Kern has a mantra or a method or whatever you want to call it. You show people how to do what they want to do and show them that you can help them do it before you ask them to do it with you. I think that's how it goes. The gist of it is you tell people how to do things and actually help them. This is what he says. He says help them before you help them. Help them by, oh no, I'm sorry. Help them by actually helping them. That's what it is. So anybody can take this webinar and employ these 6 points and actually do the workshop model that I'm about to show you and make sales. It's how I've done things since, actually I left something out of my timeline. In 2008, I had my first membership site with a friend. So starting at that point and forward, it's how I've done everything, is this workshop model of offer around, it's sort of a coaching offer wrapped around a purchase. And I'm going to show you that in a minute. Let's finish these 6 steps first, these 6 shortcuts. So anyway, the authority part is just about becoming skilled a little bit around things. You don't have to be, the brainiac. You just have to be the one who knows how to solve the problem of, how to create an autoresponder form, or how to do a webinar, or how to, I've recently been helping people just randomly with how to resize their pictures. Little things actually endear people, because a lot of people won't stop to do that sort of thing. And they say, Google it, whatever. Well, that doesn't help somebody who's already been struggling with it. You just need to get through it. I'm all for people being self-reliant and figuring stuff out on their own. I always recommend to my coaching folks, take 10 minutes and try and figure it out. And if you go any longer than that, absolutely ask in the group, period. Because anything that's easily solved by somebody else quickly, or even just tell you how to do the Google search, because a lot of times if you haven't found it yet, it's about you don't know the words that to search. So again, it's you don't know what you don't know, and you can't get around things sometimes, and that's where that authority comes in. You can step in and help people solve their problems. You are suddenly and instantly an authority on whatever it is. Okay, so consistency. Consistency in terms of influence and persuasion is about having your audience make small commitments that lead to larger commitments. And the way that you do that is that you have people publicly commit to things. You have people you look for people who are actively looking for solutions, and those are the people that you're going to be able to consistently influence if you have information in that direction. And in writing, if at all possible, because when people write things down, it's like there's a tangible something that happens when it's written or spoken, and this is especially true for me, it becomes so, I guess is what I want to say. Okay, liking. This one's easy because it's sort of easy. It's easy to understand. The bottom line is that people buy more from people that they like. So before negotiations, before you start trying to sell somebody something, before you try, and you're not even trying to sell them something, you're just trying to help them solve a problem, which ends up selling them something. you have to build some rapport. And it's something that a lot of people have a lot of trouble around. I don't know. I think we just have been in in the fast lane for too long, trying to make a buck, that people don't know how to slow down, relax, and actually be curious about each other. Um, that word "curious" for me has been really important. It's one that that Dagan Smith introduced to my brain in terms of marketing. He's all about being curious about people, being curious about what makes them, take actions. Um, what results aren't a failure or a success; they're just results. So that's about being curious about the results, not about stressed about the outcome, never being attached to the outcome, just making um, making changes based on whatever happens next. Just continuing to tweak, basically. So building that rapport is based. It has to be based on looking like what I do, like on a very cursory level. Say somebody friends me on Facebook. I go to their page for one thing, because if all they've got on their walls is dollar bills spread across, and everything in caps or whatever, I don't friend them. I just delete them, and if they continue to, I just block them. There's just no, I don't have any time for that. Um, but if I go on their wall and they have things about their family, or things about, like, I look to see where they're from, whatever, I'm looking for something that I make that helps me feel connected to them. Because when I feel connected to them and I begin to talk about that with them, they feel connected to me. And so you want to look for areas of similarity, and places to genuinely compliment people. Like if they have like a gorgeous cover photo, I'm a sucker for photos. So I'll notice that, and I'll notice it out loud to them in private message, and without any concern for what comes next. Just literally tiny chit chat. Now that has a downside. It can like slide into, endless conversation, and you don't want that. You just want to like quickly touch base, and then be aware of them when you're on Facebook, if you're doing this on Facebook. And via email, it's a different process, but you get in the gist. If people know, if they like you, they will buy more from you, and that's just the bottom line. And then consensus is about it's this. That's what all this. What do you call it? Social proof. When people give testimonials, when they, everybody's doing it. It's, when they do a launch. Uh, that's a little bit about scarcity, but it's also about consensus, because there's a lot of buzz going on about it. So that's a sort of like, people do things because other people have already done it more often than not. So there are a few early adopters usually, but more people do things because they see other people already doing it. In the video that you'll get to watch as soon as I put the page up, he talks about consensus around, how when you're in a hotel and they say, we like to help the environment. Please, if you want to reuse your towels, do such and such. Well, he makes the point that, I don't forget if he said that they had tested it, or if that they would probably get better results. But the point was that he said if they would add to that 78% of our of our guests do this at least twice during their stay, that more people would actually up their game around that particular, like they do the action, they'd be influenced by consensus simply by adding that line. So it's really interesting, all of this psychology of persuasion stuff. Okay, so that's the part that I brought you guys to. Part of why I brought you to this was to talk about that. That's sort of the value add, along with my story. So I'm sort of showing you and telling you at the same time how this works. And then at the end, if you feel like you want to participate in the workshop, you'll see that it has worked to the end, to its end result. So the bonus page where I'm going to put this particular video and the snapshots of the different different these six. I took the 6 snapshots, and I'm going to put those on that page too. It's going to be at prosperitytrip.com forward slash shortcuts. I just don't have it there. It'll be this afternoon before it's there. Okay, so I was really, Zane's got a problem. Go talk to Dad. Can't do it. So about the workshop. Okay, this is the how I do what I do part. What I do is I find something I want to sell. So in this case, I find something I want to sell, and what I do is I present it as the study material. So first I'm going to tell you what you get, and then I'm going to tell you to go get the study material. So what I'm selling, what the people who use the workshop are getting, the people who use the workshop to promote, they get to promote the workshop. The people that they promote to also get the benefit of the workshop. So it's like their bonus ad. So let me try and just show you, because it's a little bit convoluted and it always confuses people. So it's a lot simpler. I think it gets convoluted because we think there needs to be more to it, but there really doesn't. You find whatever it is. We're working reverse engineering here. So I know where I want to go. I want to go to the top tier offer, right? There's a front end to that that's inexpensive. So we're working on that consistency, making small incremental purchases. And the authority will over deliver in authority by way of the workshop in order to get those sales happening. So I'll start with what you get, and then I'll tell you to go buy your stuff. And that's basically the process. So I make an offer, and then I tell people, okay, now go get the part that you're missing, which is the study material. That's really how simple this is. People overcomplicate it all the time. I've been teaching this for 3 years, and people overcomplicate it in every way you could possibly imagine. They overcomplicate it. You guys kind of understand? Can you guys raise your hands if you kind of understand what I'm saying by I decide what I want to sell, I get a small front end purchase, and then I over deliver, and that's where the reciprocity part kicks in. People feel over delivered on, and they like me because we interact, and then they feel I'm authority. I fold in some scarcity. The consensus becomes the feel good part of the group. Are we getting that part? Yes, no, maybe. Oh, somebody did the math for me. Awesome. Okay. So here's what I do. Here's what you get with here's my example of what I do, how I do what I do. Here's what you get with the top tier workshop. You get 6 steps in 2 weeks that are intensive. It can be self-paced, or you can work with a group. It does not matter a lick to me, because the point is to get this information into you. And the reason why you want it is so that you can get super clear on how the numbers crunch. This is literally whether people move on into the top tier space or not, with me, with whomever it is that is promoting this, because I'm not the only one who's going to benefit from this particular webinar. The people who are promoting it also get to benefit from this particular webinar, as well as the people who take the offer because the offer is awesome. So it's like a whole big glom of win. Anyway, so this is what's inside of the top tier workshop itself. So we do this first six of 21 steps. How to make your first six figures in your first year with a top tier offer. It will apply to any top tier offer. You don't have to do this top tier offer. There's lots of them. There's 3 or 4 different ones that I sell. This one just happens to be the one that I did my 15K in 45 days, and that's the story that people want to hear. So that's the story that I'm telling. Step 2, you're going to discover the missing ingredient that 99% of businesses miss. It's called a tactical triangle. It actually is a piece of information that Matt swiped, curated, whatever you want to call it, from the Perry Marshall the 80/20 marketing book. Totally valid, totally doable. You can, it's not, you're not, curation is not about like, um, there's a funny, there's a funny content problem people have where they feel like they have to do everything from scratch. I'm not doing this part from scratch. I didn't do six um, the six. It's basically it's the universal principles of influence. Those 6 things we just went over. I'm just bringing the pieces together and putting my own spin on it. You know. Step 3 is how to unlock your millionaire mindset. Unequivocally is the most important thing that you could work on in this process, because up to the point where, for example, I made $100,000 with one offer in particular, um, I couldn't begin to really fathom what the next step would be. I have to change my mind. I have to literally change the way that I think and the way that the actions that I take and the offers that I put together in order to, um, in order to expand in that way. And the only way to do that is to work on mindset. You have to do personal development. People reject that idea initially, and I understand it. And I don't know if there's any way around people rejecting it first. The other side of the coin is people get stuck in personal development, and again, that's not um, it's not an ideal situation, because what you want is to kind of cut to the chase. You want to get the important parts. You don't need to be, studying your navel forever to make money. In fact, the people who do never make money because they get all caught up in all kinds of other secret beliefs around money. But again, that's the other workshop. We'll do that next. Step 4 is why 85% of franchises succeed while most other businesses fail. I personally didn't know anything about franchises, particularly before I read this stuff. I mean, I knew kind of what it was and that people did it, but I didn't have any concept of the numbers. What's even more lucrative than a franchise model is what step 5 is about. Step 6 is how to license a proven and profitable online business. Step 6 is actually how it's a mindset shift around things that you are willing to promote, and it's also a mindset shift around how you can actually present your own material as you begin to develop it. So it's actually a huge, it's I keep using the word huge, but it's it was a shift for me to start thinking in the licensing direction. Okay, if you want it, you also get a mastermind leveraged promotion, meaning you can take this particular webinar that I'm doing right now, or one that we do in the future, and do a mini launch with it. There's always a private community and training space. This is my solution to not having to do everybody one-on-one, and it leverages my time and it leverages the mind and skill sets of the people in the community. My communities are always, they tend to be a little bit small, but they're always high quality people. Whether they have all the skill sets in place or not is immaterial. The point is that they're all, they're very integrity driven, I guess would be a good word for it, and care about how other people, what happens to other people in the world. There's no cutthroatness in my space. I exit. All of your questions get answered, so you never have to get stuck again. So it's a place, it's like a safe place where you can ask all your questions, get all your questions answered. Nobody's going to pitch you. Nobody's going to hype you. Nobody's, sometimes I'll call you out because that's what I do. Ask other people. You also, the way that we set this up is people actually build their own lists in order to invite them to these webinars or the replays. If you don't know how to make opt-in pages, we can teach you how to do that. And ideally, you start thinking about how you implement the 6 steps of influence to attract people to that stuff. Because, if you were to go out and throw a bunch of yucky traffic at, bring them to the webinar, the quality of the quality, what you're kind of charged with is to bring your best game so that people bring their best game, and you're attractive to those kinds of people to come into the space and be um, on the same journey with us. We're all on some portion of the journey, and it's just the journey is never ending. So it doesn't matter if you're working on your first $1,000 a month, or you're working on your first $10,000 a month, or you're working on your first $50,000 a month or more. I can't even bring myself to say more because I can't personally envision it. If you're already past that, I'm probably not like the guidepost for you, but maybe you're the next piece of our puzzle. Who knows? So I'm always open to whatever. But anyway, building your own list is the only way to true autonomy in this space. You have to have your own contact base. It's your network. It's your Rolodex. It's your, you need to have that organized in a place where you can quickly access those folks. And that's just, if you don't, then you don't, that's your like core asset. And I could go off on a rant about that, but these are the things that are possible when you participate in the workshop. So you get all this stuff, the 6 steps, and we're going to have conversations around, and wherever people have questions, they get answered, blah blah blah. But then you also get the benefit of this community aspect, and this is the part that is the value add that I add to whatever. So if there's a launch, let's say they launched a couple years ago, couple summers, it was a year and a half ago in the summer, Jonathan and Mark launched, what was it called? Futuristic Marketing. What did I do? It was a $500 purchase, I think. I packaged up a bunch of stuff that made sense to people's brains, that if they bought it through my link, then I gave them that stuff in addition to they got all the stuff that they had already piled into Futuristic Marketing. And that, I think I didn't make a ton of money with that. I think I might have made 30 sales or something. And we psych ourselves out that you need hundreds and hundreds of sales to make a lot of money. I think my commissions from that were $5,000 or $6,000. But even better than that, it got me recognition because it doesn't take that many sales to get on leaderboards in affiliate contests. I mean, the ones that the gurus are participating or whatever are trading, mailings on their hundreds of thousands list, then yeah, that's harder. I mean, that's impossible until you get to that point. You can't really play in that game. But the smaller, and they don't have to be small. They just have to be ones that you're committed to and you were willing to be consistent with. So you're willing to stick it through, people's purchase and then not drop them, because that's one of people's biggest concerns online, is that they're going to buy something and basically, if not really be scammed, feel scammed because they're left, with questions and that are unanswered. If you can commit to being that guy for them, that they're not going to get left in the dust, you have, and anybody can do that. You don't have to be somebody who's been around. You can do that. Once you do that, people believe in you. I mean, there's somebody on, Eric, I'm not going to call you out, but Eric is on here. I showed up at a mastermind. I showed up at an event because he was going, where I was actually scheduled to be somewhere else. That's the level of commitment that you give people. They show up again and again and again for you, and they bring other good people with them. Okay, moving on. We're almost done. Okay, so here's what I tell you what to do next. So I've told you here's what I've got. I told you here's what it'll do for you on lots of fronts, whether you're promoting or you're just learning or you need to do both. And the very first thing, then that once you've done that, and this is whether you do it on an opt-in page or you do it on a sales page or you do it inside the product itself, because you have to keep giving people a reason why it's going to work for them. Give them a vision about how it's going to, how $6,000 a month is going to allow them to quit their job, not have to take care of their mother, but keep her out of a nursing home. Um, be able to go to their kids' ball games, not have to work on their second job on the weekend, uh, be able to travel to Greece because they have always wanted to travel to Greece or Ireland or China or wherever it is. There's just, take up the hobby that they've always wanted to, go golfing when they feel like it, have lunch in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week, all the time if that's what they prefer. It's just when you can kind of paint that story for people, the here's what to do next, go buy this thing is so far gonna happen that, you know, especially if you've done your over delivery when you finally reveal the price point. Now I could price condition you. What would something like this be worth to you? I mean, this kind of a mastermind long term, like people sell this uh, style of mastermind where people, reconnect regularly for thousands and thousands of dollars um, annually. You can join them for, if you can get in them, you can join them for thousands of dollars annually. Um, but you see how I've positioned this. It's not, I'm going to sell you this thing and then we're going to do stuff. It's, we're going to do stuff. And to do that stuff with us, if you want to come do that stuff with us, go buy your study materials and let's get going. Does that seem like an easier, does that seem easier? Anybody have a comment on that? Do you see the nuance in that? Most people say, go buy my stuff, or when you buy this, then we'll talk. Anybody getting that? I need a comment or two here. Yep. Yep. See, it's completely easy when you do it this way. So go buy your study materials. That's what I have to say to you. And then we're going to talk about a couple unadvertised bonuses here in a minute because I've already over delivered. I've already added a bonus. Now I'm going to give you a couple extra things that if you're the right person for this, if you want to figure out finally how to make a living that's in our case it supports our family of 5. We used to live, some of the places we lived, I was actually just, as I was throwing this material together this morning, I was looking through our photo boxes, trying to find pictures of me at craft shows with babies on my back in in those hiking carrier things, what do you call them, backpacks, pictures of me working at, in the studio on jewelry, just to see like the volume that had to be done, that I could never, like I had this ongoing love-hate thing with having a good show, because I would have a good show, which meant that I would sell my inventory, which meant that I would have this great show. I'd be outside all weekend. And none of my weekends were ever free. I would be outside all weekend, kind of beat up by the weather. If you've ever been out in the weather, no matter what kind of weather it is, being out in it all day working is hard on yourself. You have to like go home and sleep a couple days. And I would have these good, like I'd have a good show and I'd sell a lot, and then I would have this love-hate thing around that, because what that literally meant for me, because I was doing, it was, me creating, me crafting, it meant that Monday morning by lunchtime, which should be my, Monday, Tuesday should have been my weekend, quote unquote. By Monday lunchtime, I was already stressing about, I don't have enough stuff for the next weekend. So I'd have to start production by lunch on Monday to not be in this like high stress mode around how am I going to get our next paycheck, really. And I forget how I got off on that tangent, but if you can paint a picture for people that it's possible not to have to do whatever it is that isn't working for them at this point and isn't letting them have the life that they really want to have, that people dream of. I mean, it can be as simple as and this isn't that simple, but being able to stay home with your children versus having to put them in daycare. I've actually, until last year for 6 months, I did hire a nanny. Prior to that, we had never had a babysitter, ever. My kids didn't know what that was. So there's huge potential for people to like have lives that they never imagined were possible when you make this possible to them, available to them. Yeah. Okay, super. So buy your study materials. If this was just my webinar, if it was just one I was doing just for me, I would have a link to go to. And part of what makes me, part of what makes me tick, I've come to discover, is that I don't enjoy doing things as much when they're just for me. So what I have been working through, I probably would have a lot more money if I did, to be honest, because I've kind of spent a few years working with people. It's kind of where the Secret Beliefs Workshop, why it exists, because finding where people get stopped and seeing and helping them work through that stuff has been a learning experience for sure. It started on the tech side of things when I was doing my high ticket tech based coaching offers, where I would go in and help people do all of their website stuff and like literally go in and show them where the buttons were, kind of thing, do screen share type coaching. So I know a lot of the places, like but with the back of my hand, where people get stuck in that direction. But where people mentally get stuck and where they, things about worldviews and presumptions and, understanding of themselves and a lot of psychology kinds of things where, you don't want to go too deep with people on that stuff, but in terms of where it stops them from actually finding the wealth that they want, it's important to kind of understand a little bit about. That sort of thing is where I've had to go, not only to make more sales, but also to be able to have the people around me that I want to have around me. So it doesn't help me if you do this course, do this workshop, and then don't make any money, because that means that you're stuck at work while I want to go to Hawaii and I want to go with you, right? So I've always wanted to figure out a way that wasn't just about me making it, because what's the point of that if you end up enjoying people and they can't even go, like, it's, forget Hawaii, they can't even go out to lunch for a couple hours or they can't go to an event because they can't get Friday off, or they can't afford to come to Florida, and they're freezing their asses off up north somewhere just to defrost and spend a weekend doing something fun. So my whole driving force, I guess, is to you guys succeeding at this is what matters to me at this point. And what I sort of ironically, that's what's going to press me forward into my $1 million space. That's the headspace you have to get in for the next step. But first, we have to get you into that 6,000 plus a month position, and it doesn't have to take that long. Literally, here, somebody did the math for me on those sales numbers. If you were selling something that you made $7, like say you made a $7 product and you sold it, you spend 3 or 4 months writing the stupid thing and then figuring out how to promote it and publish it, blah blah blah. You'd have to make 857 sales of that $7 thing every month in order to get that $6,000 clear. You'd have to sell 127.6 $47 items, which is kind of a more normal, either you were selling it yourself or something that you get 50% commission on. Often you can get a $47 commission. 127 of those. Who sells 127 of anything any month unless they have a huge honking list or a high, really deep pockets for advertising? I don't know anybody that does that, honestly. Or it's $1,000 commissions can do it. Now, that's just the beginning of the funnel. High ticket for me is that the core, the first upsell product is $1,000 commission. The funnel ideally has more than that to offer people so that you can continue to serve that person, number one, what they want, because they won't get it unless it's what they want. And it solves a problem. And you can continue to engage that person. You can continue to afford to engage that person, and everybody can go on vacation. So that's kind of the big picture. A little bit about more what makes me tick. Anyway, we have a couple unadvertised bonuses to cover, and then we're going to get out of here because it's been much too long. So we're going to do 20 minutes of marketing consult with me, which is $167 value at the moment. I haven't upped my hourly price. I think that's right. I haven't upped my hourly rates, $500 an hour at this point. I haven't upped it in a while. It probably should go up, but I haven't really been doing that much consulting at all because I've been able to leverage these groups better. In fact, as soon as I included groups into my membership area in a way that people could self-service more, I was kind of doing too much hands-on. Instantly, like almost over, like really as soon as I turned the site on and let people started registering, the notifications in my groups went up, and my private message box or my email box totally went silent. And what I found was that I had, what I'd accomplished was having really a commitment to maybe, at that point it was about 5 or 6 hours a week of like interactive hangouts and things. At this point I'm down to 1 hour a week of commitment. And that's amazing to me. I kind of was in a point, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, where I actually a little bit confused about like what I was supposed to be doing because I didn't have anything to do anymore, at least the way that I had always done it. The more that we work on it and the more that we hone it and the more that we all sort of contribute back to the group, each of us can have that be so. And that's just what I totally look forward to. And then we have to figure out what we want to do with our time, but maybe you already know. I've had trouble with it. I'm also giving 3 months of access to my original mastermind membership site. It's called the Mastermind Partner Program. It's an $81 value. After 3 months, do whatever you want, quit, stay on. It doesn't matter to me. What I find is that that's a membership area and a community. There's a lot of crossover between some of these things because MPP, which is Mastermind Partner Program, has been kind of the epicenter of all things I do. It's like my core, it's like my inner circle, my original inner circle. It's super newbie friendly. It's a great place to ask all kinds of like your miscellaneous tech questions, anything to do with jargon, anything to do with I just can't find X, and God damn it, I need to find it. Excuse me. That kind of thing. Not a whole lot of. It's not super It's not like a busy chit chat space. It's more like a, it's like an. I don't know what you'd call it. People call it home base a lot. I don't know. You'd have to experience it. Anyway, you get 3 months of it with this. If you want to use it, you're welcome to. And that community is, it's a good one. It's a lot. It's like where all my keepers land. You can get support really quickly. A couple of us. There's always somebody. It seems there's always somebody online who can help. Okay. And so deadline. So let's dial it back. These last two things are related to scarcity, how to present real scarcity. I'm not even, I didn't even think about it too deeply, but there has to be some scarcity, number one, because in this case, it's always a little bit hands-on, not so much hands-on, but it does take us paying attention to your stuff. And that is always something, as soon as you have somebody paying attention to your stuff, that's normally something that's a billable item if you were doing it, hiring people. A lot of times people will come into my inbox and they'll say, I just have a question. Could I just ask a quick question? Well, an hour later, and this is why I don't do this anymore. An hour later, uh, I haven't been doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and they haven't taken action on a sale. That's not helping anybody. They're not getting what they need, and if they then turn around and do the same thing for other people, there's no money, there's no transactions happening, so nobody's going to be able to eat. So, um, in order to put scarcity into this, that was number 2 on the universal principles of influence. Scarcity, that's real scarcity, we're putting a deadline because we're going to start the workshop. We're going to start moving through this material together, and we're going to start, we're coming together as a group. So if you can start a week later. I could put another kind of scarcity in place. I didn't do it in this case. Maybe I'll do it in the future. I could make it more expensive after Monday. At this point, all it is to participate is go get your study materials. And then we're going to do a limited number of spaces for each person who's promoting the workshop. So I only get a certain number, and everybody else who's promoting it only gets a certain number, and that's it, because it'll fill up the group fine if everybody has a handful of people, and scarcity is good. So does anybody have any questions around any of this? I'm going to, I think that, oh, and you're invited to apply. Now, how do you do that? If this was just my webinar, again, I would be giving you a link to go do it. Because it's not only my webinar, it's for everybody's benefit. What you need to do is go back to the person who brought you to this, who invited you here. If they did what they were told to, they brought you through an opt-in page, and you'll be getting a link to the replay for this in email as soon as I have it posted on a site. And with that, you'll get their link for buying the study materials. So go get your study materials. The deadline is Monday at noon. We have a limited number of spaces. I'm thinking maybe 5 or 6 each will be plenty, because it's not a beta group, because I've done this before, but we haven't done it with this specific material before, so I don't want to have 100 people or 500 people get caught up in. It'll work better as a small group. I know it'll work as a small group. I don't know how we're going to scale it past that. So we're going to limit the number of people, and what that'll do is give you extra personal attention. So it's only a good thing for you. Okay, so pop any of your questions that you have into the questions box. I can only see half of it because I'm trying not to record it on my screen. And yeah, okay. I think I have answered all the questions. Looks like everybody's good to go. So if anybody needs, you can get me on Facebook if you need to track down whoever it is that invited you. If it was me, by all means, private message me or email me, and we'll get you set up if you're not already. And what we'll do is this recording will be up through Monday. We can all mail it, ideally mail it 2, even 3 times a day with different headlines. And I'll see about writing some copy so that you can, put a paragraph of your own above it and then send that out. And if you don't have a list, then that means, for sure a Facebook event, opt in to the replay page, and then you send them your link through the email. Or sometimes people do Facebook notes, and that works if you have a interactive profile. And don't feel like if you don't have anybody, or you feel like you don't have anybody, all it takes with Top Tier is a tiny handful. That 15K in 45 days, getting back to where we started, it was, I think it was, I want to say 14 people. at the beginning. I didn't sell the top ticket either. That got sold on the back end. I sold a $97 product, and I think I sold 24 of them. It was I had a deadline because he set it up as a contest, and deadlines work. So we have till Monday. You have till Monday to make up your mind if you're gonna, come play and make some sales yourself. And then, and again, it doesn't have to be this top ticket. This applies to all top tickets. So once you get these concepts under your belt, uh, like the world opens up to you. It's pretty cool. And yeah, so come on, let's get doing. Look forward to working with you inside, and I don't know what else to say. I think it's going to be fun. Good stuff. Okay, I can't see the questions box, so just shoot your questions over to me if you have any, or just go get your materials, and the group will put you into the study group, into the Facebook group. Alrighty, have an awesome day. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to working with you.